42. It seems that I must further research on chimera buds, muttered Kuroto. The cultivation and plantation of chimera buds are more difficult than Kuroto's initial expectations. And Kuroto dare not experiment with his main body. After all, his main body will be the core of everything. If his body were to face damage or injury beyond recovery even before the ritual, then attaining Kekki Mora will only remain a dream never to be fulfilled. So research of chimera buds is very necessary. Fortunately, Shino had collected all sorts of material. Kuroto muttered as he resealed the scroll of chimera technique inside a storage scroll. This time, Shino has obviously prepared to go into hiding for a long while to escape from Akatsuki's radar, so as to not be found by Akatsuki. During his hiding he made sure to collect all that he would need for his research and experimentation. And since Kuroto has taken over Anchor Vantion, so these things have obviously fallen into Kuroto's hands. With a large amount of experiment material in his hands, Kuroto's troubles will obviously be reduced. The cultivation of chimera buds will also take some time, so it has to be put on the agenda. After making up his mind, Kuroto went out of his house and his direction was the base of the Umbu department. After confirming the situation of the Land of Fire and other nations as well, and also making sure that no important task was at the commission, Kuroto sneaked out after leaving a shadow clone back at the village to cover for his absence. Coming out of the village, Kuroto used the Tenseigan chakra mode and flew in the direction of Anchor Vantion, hovering several kilometers above the Shami mountain range. While walking through the corridor of the flying fortress, Kuroto couldn't help but frown. The last time he did not pay much attention because of the hurry, but now that he looks around, he can't help but discover that many areas within the flying fortress are damaged to a varying degree. Be that the current corridor he is walking through leading to the main compartment. The walls on both sides are damaged and broken to a certain extent, even the flooring is broken in many places. In addition to the obvious structural decay and damage, even the power transmission system, the system responsible for generating mechanical power and make the fortress fly, within the core part of the fortress is also not working appropriately. In particular, the output power from the two jets that levitates the fortress in the sky shows inconsistent power. Basically, the jet on the left side of the fortress is giving out more pressure compared to the right side. This irregularity has changed the overall inclination of the fortress, which is making this fortress a bit unstable and shaky. Then there is some turbulence. The navigation mechanism of the fortress is impacted, making it so that it is not working accurately. The result is that there will be some deviation in the predetermined trajectory, therefore, someone is regularly needed to correct that deviation and ensure that the fortress keeps flying as per the predetermined course. It seems that the maintenance of the fortress must also be put on immediate agenda. Kuroto thought while rubbing his chin. Now that this fortress has become the secret base of Amatsukami as well as his secret laboratory, there can be no mistakes, so proper maintenance is essential. Kuroto does not expect Anchor Vantion to become a superweapon capable of destroying countries in a short amount of time, but he does hope the fortress to not drop from the sky all of a sudden because of lack of maintenance and malfunctioning. So, the expense here is necessary. With this thought in his mind, Kuroto continued to walk and arrived in the room where his personal laboratory is placed. The first thing he did was to read and check the list of materials Shino has collected with him in the warehouse of this fortress and then sorted them out according to his liking. After everything was rearranged, Kuroto immediately started the experiment involving the cultivation of chimera buds. Because a lot of unfinished buds were already present here, Shino probably cultivated them before he left Akatsuki, so all Kuroto had to do was to extract his own cells and then merge them with the unfinished chimera buds. The ones surviving will be the ones that will match his genetic combination. Of course, this is a wrong approach. Based on Hirako and Shino's experimental records, the correct approach is to directly implant the bud seed into the core body, and then cultivating those buds with your own chakra increases the success rate of the right genetic combination match as much as 99.99%. Despite this, Kuroto decided to continue with his approach. After all, there is a risk with Hirako and Shino's approach of directly implanting those buds within the body. No one can say that a mutation will not occur because of the Tenseigan chakra and Ryumyaku chakra, and inevitably damage his body. So to increase the safety, Kuroto continued with his own approach. Besides, he is still experimenting and researching, so taking such risks at this early stage is unwise. And Kuroto does not lack time. He still has at least a decade in his hands before Jubi is recovered. Anyway, in order to increase the probability of the success rate with his approach, Kuroto started with 100 samples. And he believes that as long as his luck is not too bad, at least 1 or 2 samples should result in success. As for the subsequent implantation, there is no need to worry about it, as mentioned before, there is a long time in his hands for this thing. Kuroto still has to cultivate all the 6 clones before implanting the chimera buds within his body. After starting the fusion process, Kuroto spent next week monitoring the cultivation of buds and investing all the damage within the flying fortress. As per Kuroto's approximations, the cultivation of chimera buds will take somewhere around 3 to 4 months, so no result can be seen in just 1 week. Therefore, he decided to focus his attention on the repair of the flying fortress. And his careful investigation uncovered that the condition of the fortress was much poorer than he initially expected. It must immediately be landed somewhere isolated and undergo immediate maintenance to ensure that no accidents happen. For that, Kuroto disguised himself with several different identities and traveled all over the major nations of the shinobi world, in order to purchase the necessary materials required. With everything bought, he then transferred Anchor Vantion to the deepest and the most isolated deserts, areas where no one ventures, of the land of wind, and started with the repair work. The maintenance of this kind of structure involves many fields. Just to investigate what exactly is malfunctioning and what is wrong alone requires a wealth of knowledge and experience in the field of machinery. Kuroto is not and was never an engineer, so it is obvious that he has no such relevant knowledge or experience, but he has Byakugan. Additionally, he has training as a shinobi, and he has the ultimate learning technique, the Shadow Clone Jutsu. When you combine all of these things, you get someone who is capable of learning everything as long as that can be learned. As a start, all he needs to do is to carefully check the mechanism and working of the machinery based on the blueprints, then observe those working machinery with his Byakugan, then determine the errors. This 3-step process, when conducted by hundreds of shadow clones at the same time, the work becomes possible. Additionally, there is also the Kazekage puppet with his magnet release in assistance, making Kuroto's work easier. So, things became much easier and more possible. Of course, not everything is possible, and Kuroto dared not touch the main machinery with his half-baked knowledge. It will take some time for him to learn the working mechanics of the main machinery, and Kuroto will leave that part for the end or probably the next time. For now, long-distance travel would be difficult, but it is ensured that the fortress will not suddenly fall while hovering at one place. After the half-month vacation in which all the members of Team 11 were up and running, Sandem-sama assigned a new task to Team 11. And the task this time was to investigate the whereabouts of Hiroko. The mission also included for Team 11 to record a copy of the chimera technique developed by Hiroko and then destroy all the records of its existence along with Hiroko so that no other shinobi village can ever get their hands on this kenjutsu to misuse it. As for why Konoha should have this kenjutsu? Obviously, to record chimera technique in the scroll of kenjutsu along with the likes of Edo Tensei and artificial bijou creation and all, the purpose is to use it at times of desperation as a trump card. These words alone dictated that the village authorities are quite interested in the chimera technique developed by Hiroko. Although it is a forbidden one, everything has its use at different times. In fact, it's not just Konoha. The secret information related to the existence of the chimera technique has become a piece of common knowledge among all the shinobi villages, great or small, courtesy to the spies planted in various villages. And the high level of each village is very much aware that all other villages are using their own ways to acquire this miraculous technique, so how could they be left behind and let their enemies get their hands on it? Some are trying to buy it off from Akatsuki organization, while others are trying to extort it out of the members of the Akatsuki organization. But all methods have yet to yield any substantial result. So, overall, the chimera technique has become too valuable for each shinobi village, and they are all trying to do whatever they can to obtain it in one way or another. Kuroto once even thought of secretly selling the pirated version of the chimera technique in his hands through black market, but soon discarded this idea. Although it is an easy method to acquire a large number of funds, however, it will only lead to chaos. Moreover, the safety of the major shinobi clans will also be compromised. Which is not something Kuroto wants to see, not if he can help it. It must be known that the reason major shinobi clans are feared so much, and the reason why they enjoy the treatment of being noble shinobi clans that ordinary shinobi can only dream of, is mostly because of their unique Kekkai Genkai or special and secretive techniques that common shinobi can't ever hope to compare against. But if these Kekkai Genkai rooted within their genes can be stolen by others so easily, then everyone will eye those major shinobi clans. And now that a technique is successfully developed that can theoretically allow almost anyone to not only absorb not just one of those Kekkai Genkai from the major shinobi clans but in fact, quite many of them at the same time. So no one can remain indifferent to it. Even the major shinobi clans are not indifferent to the chimera technique. Take Hyuga clan as an example. Despite the death of an elder and 2 branch members, the theft of a pair of Byakugan as well as few very important scrolls from the forbidden section, the Hyuga clan still held many clan assemblies to discuss the countermeasures they must take in order to deal with the threat of Hiriko and from any source that potentially wants to steal Hyuga Kekii Genkai using Chimera technique. Because no one can tell whether Bird Cage Juinjutsu can prevent the Byakugan to be stolen by the Chimera technique. After all, according to what people speculate, Hiriko did not just absorb the Sharingan of Uchiha Hiragi, he absorbed Uchiha Hiragi as a whole, therefore, acquiring the Uchiha Kekii Genkai. So, there's no telling if Cage Bird will protect Hyuga clan in the face of Chimera technique. As such, suitable countermeasures have to be taken. As for the investigation of the traitor responsible for the death of Elder Asahi and all, the Hyuga clan again did its own investigation but there was no result. Even when the entire clan territory was searched, all the members interrogated, no result was obtained. Neither from the branch family nor from the main family. Both secretive and open investigations amounted to no result. In short, the month-long investigation resulted in nothing more than a failure. With no clue at sight, the fingers again turned to the next most likely culprit, that being Orochimaru. But when it comes down to Orochimaru, who is a Sannin and has the strength superior at the level higher than a normal Kage, the Hyuga clan obviously can't do anything. Because the Patriarch and his younger brother, who are officially the strongest within the Hyuga clan, even when fighting against Orochimaru together, are unlikely to be able to catch Orochimaru. So the next target became the person most likely to be the next possible target who could have been in collusion with Orochimaru. But as expected of the Patriarch, even though some members of the clan proposed to carry out a full-fledged inquiry from Hyuga Kuroto while using the Cage Bird, Hyuga Hayashi unilaterally rejected the proposal using various reasons. In the face of reasons given to them by Hyuga Hayashi, even the elders can't help but feel their nerves tighten when they fully summarize the deep background Hyuga Kuroto has developed for him. Being one of the top executives of the Umbu department, Hyuga Kuroto already has a lot of authority within the Umbu. Deep friendship with Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Itachi. 2 future leaders of the Uchiha clan, with one being the Patriarch, while the other to most likely to become the leader of the Konoha military police force. A good friendship with Hatake Kakashi, son of White Fang, and disciple of Yellow Flash, the shinobi most likely to be the future Hokage. Finally, there is also the presence of the daughter of former Miko. Just the interpersonal relationship of Hyuga Kuroto made them realize that they can no longer touch Hyuga Kuroto so casually as they thought they could, and they unanimously choose to follow the Patriarch's advice, making Kuroto laugh at them. Anyway, all that aside, on the day Umbu Team 11 was assigned the mission, and coming out of the Hokage office, Shisui walked next to Kuroto on their way home, and he had a bit of tangled expression. Kuroto frowned, and asked, "What's the matter?" Shisui hesitated a little and finally sighed, then continued, "Kuroto-san, I have thought about it for the past few days, and I think that we should report the location of Akatsuki's base to Hokage-sama." After the capture of Shino, the trio of Homusubi extracted out all the information Shino knew about the Akatsuki. Of course, Akatsuki's base being in Amigakure was also part of that information. Kuroto didn't care about this information, as he has known this for a very long time. But that's not the case with Shisui, and now that they are assigned the mission to locate Hiriko, ambush him, kill him, and obtain Chimera technique out of him, so Shisui felt that they should also use this opportunity to report the base location of Akatsuki organization. Asked by Shisui, Kuroto considered it a little. Shisui continued, "Kuroto-san, I think that as long as we report the location of the base of Akatsuki and then use the combined might of the 5 great nations to launch a surprise attack on the base of Akatsuki in Amigakure, it should be possible to take down Akatsuki organization in one shot." Kuroto nodded. If they do use this approach, then it should actually work perfectly. If the 5 great shinobi villages do gather all of their high-end combat personnel for a united surprise attack on Amigakure, it should work out. To make the situation better, Kuroto would in fact be willing to use all his strength to take down Nagato and seize or destroy the pair of Rinnegan within his eye sockets. Seeing Kuroto's nod, Shisui immediately asked, "It should work out perfectly, right?" "Speaking ideally, your plan is of course perfect." After taking a pause, Kuroto continued with a deep tone, "But this is only ideally speaking. Realistically speaking, Akatsuki wouldn't be destroyed with just this, so the success rate of this approach is not as high as we think it is. The core part of Akatsuki is divided into 2 segments, and both the segments individually have 2 parts. In the frontal segment is Madara, Nagato, and Obito. Each of them is acting as per their beliefs and ideals to create a better world they think they are working for, and for this, each of them is manipulating and doing all sorts of things they can to achieve their ideals. And in the dark segment, there is Black Zetsu, who is manipulating them all. Madara may be dead, but as long as Black Zetsu exists, Kuroto counts Madara as a threat. And killing Zetsu is impossible. And there is no telling if Zetsu can even be sealed with anything below the Yin-Yang seal. And all four of them revolve around the pair of Rinnegan. As long as that pair of Rinnegan and Zetsu exists, Akatsuki too exists. So, destroying Akatsuki would be impossible unless all these 5 keys are solved. Moreover, a surprise attack on Amigakure? With Rain Tiger at will technique working? Are you kidding? That's just impossible unless you are Yellow Flash or Uchiha Obito. With Nagato's and Zetsu's ability, the so-called surprise attack will obviously be noticed, and as long as Nagato doesn't want to openly clash with the 5 great shinobi villages, Akatsuki can avoid it. And as long as Akatsuki retreats, what can the combined might of 5 great shinobi villages do? The biggest question is, will the 5 great shinobi villages be willing to openly declare their hostility against Akatsuki? Akatsuki has not yet started collecting bijou, nor have they revealed any hint of it. So, will all the shinobi villages really be willing to dispose of Akatsuki, unlike Amatsukami? Moreover, Akatsuki is a mercenary organization that is available to do all sorts of dirty work as commissions. For these reasons, even with them being openly declared as wanted criminals, Akatsuki organization has no shortage of tasks at their end. In the original Naruto story, Iwagakure had a good relationship with Akatsuki as they were in close ties with Akatsuki when it came to the matter of issuing commissions. The same is probably the case here. There are many other shinobi villages, big or small for that matter, who regularly employ Akatsuki for all sorts of tasks. As such, Akatsuki still has the power to use diplomacy should they deem it necessary and exchange benefits with 1 or 2 of the great shinobi villages, and if they do it then the collision will instantly collapse. If you want to establish a united front against Akatsuki, Kage talks have to be held, and these talks will involve a lot of procrastination as well as negotiations. And during this time, it is highly likely that the intelligence of the United Front would be leaked to Akatsuki. Don't forget that each of Akatsuki's members has their spies lurking in various villages. Sasori is the best example. He obviously has his spies lurking inside Sunagakure. So, it is very hard to say if the intelligence wouldn't be leaked to Akatsuki. And once the intelligence is leaked, Akatsuki will be vigilant and be prepared for the upcoming surprise attack, which would be disadvantageous for the United Front. Therefore, Kuroto said, the opportunities of such a surprise are limited. If wasted then we will forever regret it, so I don't think that it is the best opportunity right now. However, it doesn't seem that Shisui is convinced. The earlier they get rid of Akatsuki, the earlier they take care of the organization that truly poses a threat to Konohagakure as well as the rest of the shinobi world, the better it would be, right? Otherwise, who knows how strong Akatsuki will become in the future? What would happen if more countries like the Land of Demons are destroyed without any resistance? Is there a guarantee that Akatsuki will just sit back and watch as they have been doing for the past few years? No, there is not. Moreover, if Akatsuki really wants to revive Jubi, then why give them the opportunity? Just deal with the entire organization early on. Don't give them the opportunity to collect the 9 bijou. These are Shirsui's thoughts. Hearing Shirsui's thoughts, Kuroto was silent. Shirsui's thoughts are of course relevant. It is best to deal with the Akatsuki early on. Why waste time waiting for them to collect bijou one after another? Allow them to declare war on the entire shinobi world, so that the death toll rises to thousands and tens of thousands. Kuroto knows that Shisui is doing everything he can for the village and the Uchiha clan, as well as for the shinobi world. And what he is speaking is not wrong, but if only things were that easy. Looking at Shisui's expression, Kuroto felt that stopping or convincing Shisui would be very difficult this time. Alright. Sighing slightly, Kuroto decided to bet on the situation. Anyway, he is not losing anything. What's the worst that can happen? Hearing Kuroto's agreement, Shisui said, in that case, we must report the intelligence to Hokage-sama as soon as possible. Kuroto nodded, right, but we cannot directly report this intelligence to Sandim-sama, otherwise if asked how do we know this? We don't really have a suitable answer, nor do we have any explanation as to why did we not reveal such critical information earlier. Shisui nodded. Kuroto continued, so I think using this mission would be the best opportunity to reveal this intelligence. Shisui thought about it and nodded. At this time, Kuroto added, to be honest, if we really want this approach to succeed, then I think it would be best to not contact all the 5 great shinobi villages, otherwise, it will result in a total failure. Shisui frowned upon realizing the true meaning. You mean that few of the other villages would side with Akatsuki? Kuroto shook his head but said nonetheless, well, don't underestimate Akatsuki. After a pause, Kuroto continued, even if they don't side with Akatsuki, there is no guarantee that they would not betray the alliance. Among the 5 great shinobi villages, Iwagakure does hold tendencies to do so. Besides, the status of Kirigakure is completely obscured by fog. There's no telling if the current Mizukiage, Karatachi Yagura, is self-aware or under Obito's control. So, even if Iwagakure does not betray the alliance, as long as Kirigakure is involved, and if the current Mizukiage is under Obito's control, then all the planning and surprise attacks are pretty much useless. But if Iwagakure and Kirigakure are excluded, then it is hard to tell if Konohagakure, Kyumogakure, and Sunagakure alone have the power to destroy Akatsuki from the root. Well, let's just go with your thought this time, said Kuroto, finalizing the decision. Shursui nodded, and then both dispersed to their respective homes to prepare for the mission.